So, time for a little story, and this has nothing to do with my health. This is a true story. So, years ago, through volunteering in church, I met a nice older woman that I became good friends with, and let's call her Diane. So anyway, one of Diane's sons got engaged, and she had an engagement party for him at her house, and I was invited. And I met this really cute couple. They were middle-aged or a little older. And the husband was American, nice-looking man. And the wife was originally from Colombia. And she sounded a bit like J-Lo. She didn't look as provocative as J-Lo, but she was an attractive woman. And so, oftentimes when I meet couples, I ask how they met. I always find it fascinating. And especially in particular because she was originally from Colombia. So they told me the story together, like she would tell part and he would tell part. And it was real interesting, and I really felt like they could have done a movie out of it. So, she told me that she had an aunt and uncle that lived in New Jersey. I don't know if it was like Jersey City or whatever, but she had an aunt and uncle that came to the States, years before she ever did. And that they had arranged when she was, a young adult for her to come and she could have a work visa. And this is quite a few years ago when Manhattan was more intact. And she ended up getting a job as a bilingual secretary in Manhattan. But she was staying with her aunt and uncle at a condo in New Jersey. So she would take the PATH train to and from work. And she said that on the weekends she would love to go into the city by herself and just go sightseeing or whatever. Okay. So now, the husband told me that he had been a bachelor. He was young, bachelor, and said, he did all of his, whoring around and girls at bars and this and that. And he said he was sick of it. He said he was so sick of it that he prayed. And the way he described it, he said, I prayed to God. He said, I was just so sick of it. And I prayed to God, to help me. I was just so sick of, and that to send the right woman his way. And he said that night he had a dream. And all he remembered was the woman was wearing red. And that, he felt that God was giving him a sign, right? And he happened to be a conductor for the PATH trains out of New Jersey. Okay? So, that weekend, this woman, we'll call her Lucy. Lucy tells her aunt and uncle, I'm going to go into, Manhattan. I want to check the museums out in the afternoon. She probably went more during the day and didn't want to stay out late at night because she was alone taking public transportation. So she said for some reason that day when she was getting dressed, she said she had a pair of red pants. She really didn't like them, but she just, on impulse, decided to wear the red pants. And she goes on the train to get off. And she said that, it's crowded. She gets off. And all of a sudden, this man comes up to her. And she said it was like a surprise, like she wasn't seeing it coming. And all she noticed was he was in uniform. And she got nervous because, she was not there illegally, but, being from another country and whatever. And the man asked her name. So she made up a fake name because she was just taken aback. When there's crowds of people around you. She didn't realize that that was the man that was praying the night before and got the red, and she was wearing red pants. So now he tells me his part. He said he was at work, and all of a sudden in the crowd of people, he sees a woman, an attractive woman, with red pants. He said It was like he had no control. The next thing he knew, he was standing next to her, talking to her. And he said it was like he was like in a trance. And so she was nervous, and she told him she was going in the city and that, yes, she was going to be taking the train back. He was done with his shift. He said he was done with his shift, but he didn't go home. He stayed around the train station for hours and hours so that he could find her on her way back. Then he approached her again, saw her, and said, I would like to invite you out, like to dinner or something like that, and get your phone number. And she said, my aunt and uncle and myself would be honored to have dinner with you. I live with them. Here is my phone number. And he said he was very impressed. He called the next day, and the aunt and uncle invited him over to their condo in New Jersey. And he had dinner with the young lady and the aunt and uncle, who chaperoned her. He said at this point, he already knew. He already knew. This was it. This was it. And he said that made him really believe in God, that he had prayed and God had put the color red. And, she said it was very strange because she didn't like those pants, but for some reason she felt possessed to wear the red pants that day. So anyway, they had a respectful relationship and got married. Very happy, had children. They probably have grandchildren by now. I just thought it was a beautiful story. And I don't think he was like this devout church-going Christian or Catholic. But the fact that he felt a void in his life and prayed about it and was smart enough to receive the message and was smart enough to follow up on it appropriately, I think it said a lot for him. They were a really cute couple, and I don't have all the details. I mean, they told me a lot of things. I'm just kind of summarizing. But I remember saying to them, oh, it sounds like a movie you could make, and you could be like J-Lo could play you, and maybe Ben Affleck could play I just thought it was a really cute story. But it's a story that also, it's a symbolic of faith and trust, and like trusting God and having faith. You don't have to be going to church and genuflecting 24/7.